Ciao mondo, hello world, hola mundo, hello monde. We're here today discussing in a cappuccino some key considerations regarding the renal risk of iodinated contrast media and the role of the nephrologist. First of all, we have a history of changing names and changing criteria, and from contrast-induced AKI, we start to talk about contrast-associated AKI, and finally, post-contrast AKI. Certainly, there is a lot of controversy regarding the doubting of the existence of post-AKI. And in some cases, we have observed a kind of renalism in the sense of complete exclusion of this possible entity. Nevertheless, we know that we have several potential procedures ordered by different specialties that are subsequently performed by other specialists, and often complications are seen by other specialists. And this is the condition where the radiologist or the interventional cardiologist may not see the patient when he develops AKI subsequently. In any case, we think that there is no point to exclude the importance of mitigating the risk to kidneys in patients, especially identifying patients with very high risk. Subsequently, we have to try to maintain adequate hydration for these patients, because we have seen that these patients may benefit from adequate hydration, leading to less concentration of iodinated contrast in the nephron. Subsequently, furthermore, we have probably to limit the amount of contrast that should be administered, and we should ensure minimum toxicity, possibly utilizing contrast media with less and less toxic effect. And finally, we have also to analyze the possible utilization of new biomarkers that can help us. Certainly, the role of nephrologist is probably central, because since we have no effective therapy for AKI, prevention of post-contrast AKI is critical to improve outcomes. The first step to implementing preventive measures, however, is awareness. People should be aware about post-contrast AKI. And subsequently, probably considering a multidisciplinary team that seems essential in designing, implementing, and monitoring this measure, we should also consider that there is a central role of the nephrologist that should be probably perceived as the point of reference in case of high-risk patients and in the decision-making process, rather than being called later on when AKI has already developed. Moreover, acute kidney injury is not a single shot situation. It's not a single insult episode. So we should consider that repeated exposure to contrast media may actually induce development of kidney damage. So at the end, in spite of divergent attitudes regarding the relevance of post-contrast AKI in contemporary practice, prevention is clearly better than no cure. With the involvement of multiple specialists adding complexity, the identification of patients at high risk that are more susceptible to worse outcome, and implementation of tailored prevention and mitigation strategies is today rather inconsistent and should be probably better planned. Equally, withholding contrast to patients considering at high risk can lead to delays in diagnosis, especially in cancer patients, and especially in consideration that high-risk patients may have high level of complication. And treatments can be delayed in this patient that in some cases, limiting all these aspects may be more harmful than the contrast itself. The nephrologist is in a unique position to support colleagues in finding the sweet spot between believing contrast agent pose little or no risk to patients, and the renalism, which is basically a total exclusion of the existence of this entity, with the potential to achieve enhanced outcomes for many high-risk patients. We strongly suggest a key role of the nephrologist that should be involved in the decision-making process for this type of procedure and to follow specific patients. With this, I thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you a wonderful day. Excellent.